Here we go. Well, Stephen, it's gonna be a little show and tell today. We're gonna walk through the program with you. If you have any questions, let us know, and we'll be happy to answer them for you.
Perfect.
We've also got Peter with us today.
Oh, and we got Peter as well. Excellent. So what we're going to do is go over the agenda very briefly. We're going to do introductions, then the high-level goals, talk about both the foundation and Lighthouse Labs. And then we're going to go over the part-time courses and then the boot camp and cover what's in the technical training, as well as the different services and support that we apply through the program. Eligibility, how to apply, and then any question and answers that you guys might have. So welcome. Thanks for joining us today. Roland Gossage, I'm the founder of the foundation, and I'm joined by Jennifer and Alex, who are going to be talking about the program with me today. And just a little bit about me, as people always kind of asked, I served 10 years with the Armed Forces and the Armored Corps, both full and part-time Class A and Class B services, mainly with the Governor General's Horse Guards, but I also did work with the RCR and the RCD during my career, and non-commissioned Master Corporal, and still participate with the Association of the Governor General Horse Guards. High level, when I looked at it, so when I got out of there, like, what did I do want to give back? And that is to help Canadian veterans and their families. I want to also build awareness for the amazing assets that we have in our veterans. Most people don't know that. When I talk to anybody that's looking to hire a employee, they look for people that are hardworking, dedicated, don't leave until the job is done, etc. And that describes most of our veterans. And really also being in the private sector for the last 15, 20 years, is that we are looking to find tech talent. There is a deficit in the amount of pool that we can get in there, and that's where organizations like Lighthouse Labs comes in, because we're trying to accelerate the amount of people that are available in this market, because most companies can't hire them fast enough. And so the other thing too is just educating the military and veterans that this is a hot and amazing market to be in. The incomes, the fun of the industry, opportunity is quite good. And last but not least is obviously we partnered with the Ontario government, who has helped subsidize some of this, and we want to make sure that every Ontarian prospers through this initiative. So again, I started this about 2 years ago, sort of two sides to the foundation. One is in the arts and the other is in technology. And it's really around this program around technology is helping veterans transition to civilian life and look at new opportunities within technology. I will turn it over to Alex to talk about a little bit about Lighthouse Labs.
Thanks, Roland. Okay, so just for a little bit of background, Lighthouse Labs is a private career college, and we focus primarily on data science and web development. So I always like to give people a little bit of history, but we were actually founded in 2013 by a group of developers in Vancouver who were looking at this like vast technical talent gap in Canada and thought that there had to be a better way to quickly train people to become developers. So since then, we've graduated over 3,000 developers into the Canadian market, which is definitely an accomplishment we're very proud of. Okay, so here is a list of 8 of the most in-demand jobs in 2021, according to Randstad. So all of these jobs require either data or web development skills. And Stephen, I know you're on your phone, so some of these jobs here are just like developer, software engineer, IT project manager, IT business analyst, database analyst, quality assurance analyst, security analyst, and network engineer. So there's definitely a bit of a trend for 2021. So this is, reading that is why we decided to start offering our 2 part-time courses as part of the Soldiers in Tech program.
Okay, just so you know, I do have the slideshow on my screen.
Oh, awesome. Yeah. Okay, great. So being able to use data, in your work is an extremely useful skill. Everybody has data, whether it's data sets from work, your screen time app that tells you how much time you spend on your phone. But not everybody knows how to read that data and make useful decisions from that. So this part-time course is called Introduction to Data Analytics. It's 6 weeks in length. It's only 2 evenings per week, and it is done in the evening. So perfectly fine if you are working. And I should say it's also 3 hours per class, so 6 hours a week for 6 weeks. It is designed as a live online course. So it's not pre-recorded or anything like that. There's a lecture, then you've got your classmates and you're sort of expected to be there with your video on. I'm just noticing here these dates are old, but we do have new start dates coming up every month. So our next start date starts at the beginning of April, and we can follow up with you on exactly what those dates are. Great. So what this course is designed to do is it's designed to help you get the most out of, data for better business decisions. And it doesn't matter what role it is that you're in. So basically, you're going to learn how to ask the right questions of your data to tackle business challenges and measure data-driven success. You're going to learn to determine what data should be collected in the first place. You're going to learn how to extract insights from that data to help you make more informed decisions. You're going to learn how to ensure that data quality to make sure that your data is giving you accurate insights. You're also going to learn how to present that data by using tools like Excel and Tableau. And what this course does not go into is any sort of like coding languages. So we are trying to keep it very accessible. So this is not, we're not using Python in this course. Oh, here's the slide that talks about it. Okay, so our second part-time courses are Introduction to Front End with JavaScript. So this course is 6 weeks in length. It's the exact same format as our Introduction to Data Analytics, also 3 hours a week in the evenings, and those start dates as well are all in April. So basically, our Introduction to Front-End Fundamentals with JavaScript, it's designed as a starting point if you're new to coding. So in 6 weeks, you'll kind of go from no coding experience to structuring web pages with HTML, styling them with CSS, and adding dynamic functionality using JavaScript. So we're going to round out the 6 weeks with a look at AJAX and API requests to enable your website to dynamically display information from other web services like Twitter, Google Maps, and more. It definitely sounds, it is a meaty course, but it's very doable. And yeah, exactly. So JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and a little bit of jQuery. Okay, so the last course that I'm going to talk about is our Web Development Bootcamp. So this one is very different from our part-time courses. This program is also designed for beginners, but the goal of the program is to essentially transform you into a professional developer. So the main differences here is this is a bootcamp. It is 40 plus hours per week. I really would prefer to say it's 60 hours a week realistically. We've got about 40 to 70 hours worth of prep work that we're going to ask you to do when you start applying. That's basically to make sure that everybody's on the same page when they start. And we also offer an 8-to-1 student mentor ratio. So what that means is there's always mentorship available for you whenever you have a question. So, we're trying to emulate that classroom environment as much as possible. And we do so by providing that mentor experience. And lastly, that the course is 12 weeks in length. So there are kind of like 4 main aspects to this course. You've got your technical training, so that's both in front end and back end development. We've got career services, so there's going to be individual support and workshops to help you land your dream developer job. And there's also final projects week. So at the final 2 weeks of the program, you're actually going to be working on final projects in groups. And that's really just to solidify your learnings, build your confidence so that when you get into that job interview, you can talk about a project that you've very recently built and presented. And finally, there is wellness support as well, which I'll let Roland go into a little bit later. Okay, so this is just a very basic breakdown of what the 12-week program looks like. All of this information is available on our website with a lot more detail. So we'll tell you exactly pretty much what you're doing day by day. But overall, the first 2 weeks of boot camp are fundamentals. Once we move past that, weeks 3 through 5, we're getting into things like backend. So a week of backend, which is servers, cookies, HTTP data structures, a week of front end. So looking at HTML and CSS mostly, and a week of databases. So SQL and Postgres. After that, you've got a week of midterms. So that's going to be the first time that you're working in groups. And we're going to tell you essentially what to build. I think you're going to be building a takeout app. And really why we designed that is sometimes it's people's first experience working in a developer team, which can be very different from working in other sort of team settings. So we want to give people exposure to that like halfway through the program. After the midterms, we've got 2 weeks of React. Those weeks are pretty brutal, but React is extremely important to learn. After the 2 React weeks, we've got 2 weeks on Ruby and Ruby on Rails. So sites like Airbnb, for example, are built on Ruby on Rails, another very important kind of language and framework for you to know, because it kind of like leads to learning some of the other things that we're not able to teach you in 12 weeks. So for example, like Laravel, it's something that's very popular right now, but we're not going to teach you Laravel. Instead, we're going to teach you Ruby. And by learning Ruby, you should be able to then very quickly learn other frameworks. And then, of course, as I spoke about earlier, the last 2 weeks are final projects. Okay, so what will you be able to create at the end of all of this? So our curriculum was created to simulate a real developer's job environment. You're going to be exposed to, industry relevant technologies and then immediately reinforce that knowledge by building applications and completing daily programming projects. So it's extremely hands-on curriculum. I can't emphasize that enough. You're going to be pair programming pretty much from week 2 in order to expose you to looking at other people's code. There's going to be tons of problem solving and debugging, which is probably the most important skill to acquire and practice as a developer. And the goal really of this program is to get you as job ready as quickly as possible. We know that most of the learning you're going to do is in the year after this boot camp on the job. But for now, we want to make sure that you have the portfolio to show for it. So that portfolio is going to include weekly individual projects like that takeout app that I told you. There's also like a Twitter clone and a whole bunch of things that you're going to be working on to be able to like commit to your GitHub and that employers can see. And finally, yes, there is that demo day project, which will be the meat of your portfolio. So 5 very important things that I just like to make sure people understand before committing to boot camp. So we've got the first is that the program is extremely hands-on. There's only about 2 hours of lecture per day. The rest of your day is spent with your hands on your keyboard, just coding away, working on projects, working with other students, and working with mentors. The curriculum is project-based, and the reason we have the on-demand access for, mentors at least 8 hours a day is because the curriculum is project-based and it's so fast-paced. So we want to make sure that you don't get stuck on one question for over an hour, and you've still got another 5 hours of work to do that day. So the mentors are there. We want you to be asking at least 2 or 3 questions a day of them. They're there to support you. And finally, the curriculum is fully online. So we've got remote mentorships, lectures, and engagement. So this is like a slide that we just like to share with people about what they can expect after boot camp. So Lighthouse has seen a 93% employment rate within 180 days of graduation, actually, 120 days of graduation. And the first salary that we see post boot camp is around $52,000 to $54,000. That salary is typically in a co-op position. So it's the salary that you're looking at for about a 3 to 6 month period before you get signed on officially full-time with a company. And then Roland can talk a little bit more about what those salaries typically look like, as he does actually have a lot of developers that he's hired. But I can tell you just from, our students, we can see that go up by like $20,000 after the first 6 months.
Both happily and sadly as an employer.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, yeah. So it's this is kind of the initial bit. We look at our sort of average hiring is for group buy is around 60 to 65, right? So this is really the first thing, and usually if you look at someone who's got about 3 years experience becomes intermediate, you're sort of the 80 to 100,000 a year. So that's where it kind of gets exciting, is that very quickly, with a couple of years under your belt, you can command a very handsome salary, stock options, that sort of thing.
So the last slide I'll leave you with is just around our career services and what exactly is included in our career services program. So a very large part of the boot camp is the career services program. So while our guiding belief is that most of your training will be learned on the job, and that your first year working as a software developer can be seen as paid, highly intensive training, the main function of the CS portion of the program is to help you land your first job as a developer. So things that they do, they're going to be working behind the scenes to get your resume out and promote you to employers any chance they get. I should say they're very, very used to seeing resumes that have zero technical experience on there. That is kind of like the whole point of the boot camp, to take people who were lawyers, mechanical engineers, chefs, whatever it was, and help transform their resume to show that they actually are qualified developers. They're also going to be working to schedule and follow up interviews on your behalf with employers. And they're going to start hosting workshops around week 5, like resume writing, as I said, resume reviews, technical interviews, things like that. And of course, they're there to provide support for, questions like networking, relocation, salary negotiation, the whole thing.
So the other thing too is wellness, something that we make sure that we put enough time to. And, I would say that this is a service that I think is highly important and relevant for those that just may have tough days coming through the program. It is intense in a boot camp where they just need a little phone a friend, pick up the phone and just talk through things. And hey, I'm struggling on this or that, just having someone to talk to. We have 2 counselors and psychologists on staff that can do that, as well as we have in support 2 generals and quite a few veterans that are also involved in the program. So kind of just whatever kind of you need from a wellness perspective, we're trying to make sure that it's there and that you always have some shoulder person to talk to, someone to lean on, etc. Eligibility is kind of straightforward. As we said, is we have doctors, lawyers, engineers, veterans who have gone through this program very successfully. For us, it's very simple. You have to have had military service, either reserve or reg force, and you have to have an interest in technology, and that's basically it. And so you go through the process here, and we kind of do a few pre-interviews just to make sure that's the case. But it's meant to not to be a deterrent, but actually just to make sure you're ready and able to do the course.
Yeah, I will say too that you also have to be residing in Ontario. Okay, so I'll talk to the application process here. So for the boot camp, you're going to essentially fill out an online application form. You're going to get contacted by a Lighthouse Labs admissions manager. They're going to ask you to book yourself into a group interview. The group interview is very, very straightforward. It basically is a chance for us to talk about the program a little bit more and answer your questions, and then also ask you two questions. We're going to ask you why it is that you're sort of looking to take the program, and also just a little bit of your background. We just want to learn a little bit more about you and understand like why you're interested in the program. And then after that, you will complete a technical interview with Lighthouse Labs. The technical interview actually now can be done just online on your own, like a take-home test. It doesn't have to be an interview. So whatever you're most comfortable with. And then finally, you'll just get on a call with Roland once you're accepted, so Roland can learn a little bit more about you, and now that you're getting a scholarship from the foundation. So for our part-time courses, there is no admissions process at all. You essentially fill out an application and you're in.
Good. So that was the overview. This is where we turn the floor over to yourself, Stephen, and to Peter to see if you have any questions for us.